Shalawam. My name is Lamad from the GMS, the Engineer 2 camp in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I want to give all praises to YAHAWAH, SHAM, YAHAWASHI. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone. Shalawam to all the sincere AHCHYAM, laboring in true sincerity, keeping their garments to the end. Today, I just got a couple articles I want to read going on to the topic, alluding to the topic of World War III. So I have the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." And that's basically, what I'm getting into is that, the spirit, the Apostle Tar coined this the year of prophecy. And this is, the year of, when a lot of prophecies are probably going to come to pass. You could foresee them, if you're spiritual and you're looking and paying attention to what's going on. It says, "See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." So, back then, Yahushua was warning the people, the Israelites, about, the wars and rumors of wars, and that they're living in the end times. So, that was 2,000 years ago. So how much more now are we living in the end times? And we hear about all these pestilences and bad things that are going to happen, but at the end of the day, these things have to occur or happen in order for us to get back into, our rulership, as far as, us being on top and not being on the bottom, and having other nations, ruling over the other nations in our kingdom and our power and our rulership. So this is verse 7. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places." And you see the nations rising against the nations. You see Korea, you see China, you see Russia. You see all these wars, you know what I'm saying? All these wars taking place and all this stuff, basically, or, Cold War, so to speak, in the Middle East and the East Asia and all that stuff. As far as, the countries, North Korea, South Korea, North Korea being South Korea being aided by, basically the NATO nations and interests of America. And then you see like China and Russia basically backing North Korea. So it says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places." And you've seen that last year. The like right now, right? I mean, it's probably not that bad, but this is just an example. Like right now in Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, you got a nor'easter coming, so it's gonna put down a lot of snow and all this. That's basically what's going on right now. I'm not like at work today because of that, basically. But yeah, I mean, you got like the storms that happen in south, the southwest part of the U.S., which would be like Florida, the islands, and all that, Puerto Rico, and all that. I was looking up, the natural disasters, and you have that basically coming up about, as far as the what happened in Puerto Rico and all that. And they're talking about it was talking about, the insurance companies and all the insurance companies and all the money that they're gonna have to kick out and all this, and like record numbers and all that, because these are the plagues that basically the Most High set up in these last days. The floods, the frigid cold that's being, that's taking place. I mean, look at the pestilence in California, the fires and all that stuff. See, it says this year could see, this year could see increase in big earthquakes. It says mega disasters devastated America this year. They're going to get worse. Puerto Rico, still talking about Puerto Rico. Losses from global disasters in 2007 exceed $300 billion. Yeah, I mean it's not just Puerto Rico. It's look, it's the Virgin Islands. I didn't even think about that. Uh, all right. Well, anyway, getting back to the point, right? Um. All right. So let me go to these articles real quick and just read some excerpts from the articles. Um. All right. So this is from the Express. It's entitled "U.S. USA closer to nuclear war than ever before. North Korea will not be stopped by diplomacy." It says North Korea has bought the world's. It says North Korea has brought the world closer to nuclear war than before. Um, than ever before. A retired United States military official warned. Uh, all right, it says Admiral Mike Mullen terrifying warning comes as tensions between Washington and Pyongyang continue to increase. This week, Kim Jong Un state media warned the rogue regime would never hand over nuclear weapons while the U.S. continues its blackmail and war drills. Because basically, the United States and South Korea. Because I mean, if you go back in history, you had the Korean War, which was basically you had the Korean War, which took place, which divided the North Korea and South Korea, and then it's like America was trying to establish, I guess, like a military base over there, their presence over there. So they took over South Korea, and then Russia took North Korea. Gave them weapons and all that stuff like that, and backed them. Um, so, and that like during the time when you had the what do you call it, the damn with Russia, the Warsaw Pact. So it was like Russia during the Cold War, they were trying to make allies with those countries, giving them giving them whatever they needed in exchange for using their land and being allies with them, basically. Um, uh, all right, so I mean, it's pretty much. All right, it says I don't see the opportunities. I don't see the opportunities how to solve this diplomatically at this particular point. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff previously warned the United States increasingly a volatile relationship with the unpredictable hermit nation increased the likelihood dictator Kim Jong Un would use nuclear weapons. He said, "I think it's more probable than it used to be, and it scares me to death, quite frankly." It said they're the most dangerous weapons in the world, and we know that. Yeah, of course, and we know that. Through the prophecy that this is gonna actually have to take place. You're gonna have, like as you see here, you're gonna have nuclear ICBM nuclear missiles shot off, and they're gonna hit the certain targets that the Lord designates. Um, Salaki, hold on. Let me see if I can get some scriptures real quick pertaining to that. Salaki, bear with me for 1 second. Salaki. Just bear with me for a second. Second Ezra 16. All right, so this is 2nd Ezra 16:7. It says, "May one turn again the arrow that is shot from of a strong archer." It says, "The mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away?" It says, "A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it?" So it's basically what it's talking about is the arrow. The arrow of the Most High is talking about the ICBM nuclear missiles, because it's saying who can turn them away. Like once you shoot the ICBM nuclear missiles, there's no way to take them away. And that's all. Basically instruments that the Lord uses to render His judgment in these latter times. Oh yeah, I heard something. All right, it says U.S. and South Korea meet for winter drills on North Korea's doorstep. It says the winter training exercises originally was designed to prepare for possible North Korea attacks and is annually held by the soldiers. Slovakia is annually held by soldiers of South Korea and the U.S. Marine Corps. So they're not just doing this for nothing. Um, they're not just doing this for nothing. See all the things they're doing to prepare for war. They're not just doing this for nothing. We got their snow camo on. Doing push-ups in the snow with no shirt on, as cold as it is. And you see they're mostly like Edomites, it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, the U.S. has conducted many military exercises in South Korea and Japan throughout 2017 in an attempt to prepare against a military strike by the hand of North Korea. Kim Jong-un's state media mouthpiece KCNA announced North Korea will continue to enhance its nuclear capabilities next year in a report titled "No Force Can Prevail Over Independence and Justice." So it says the chilling report said the DPRK, an undeniable new strategic state and nuclear power, declares do not expect any change in its policy. The DPRK, as a responsible nuclear weapon state, will lead the trend of history to the only road of independence and justice, wearing all tempests on this planet. It's like weathering all tempests on this planet. That's pretty much it for that article. I got like 3 more articles before I close it out real quick. I'm gonna just try and get to the point. Um, all right, this one says talking about how North Korea will most likely, because in war, I guess you would, a lot of times, what I'm saying, they would bring their planes in, they would do aerial strikes, strategic ways, they go about war. They would do aerial strikes, they would, come in with their tanks or whatever, and then, they might come in with the army to actually seize the territory that they're trying to seize. And, I guess last resort would be to use, the intercontinental ballistic missiles as a deterrent, you know what I mean? Um, so I guess it's supposed to be the army, North Korean army. It says North Korea most likely would wage conventional war. Given the overheated rhetoric that has emanated from Pyongyang and Washington over the past year, annihilation of the imperialists, that's what Kim Jong-un said, versus fire and fury, that's what Donald Trump said. The risk of armed conflict with North Korea, no doubt, has been rising. But war, if and when it comes, may not take the form that the United States expects. Which, I mean, this part happened at first, but then, the end game or whatever would be, of course, the new thermonuclear missiles being shot on America. Um, Let me see. Sorry. All right. So it's saying American hawks contemplate a preventative aerial bombing campaign. Just like I was saying, that's what America usually does. Is they'll send in their their air force or whatever to kind of soften up certain targets. You know what I mean? That is if North Korea doesn't have like um the S-300s or some type of anti-aircraft, missiles and all that system. It says launch at a time of our choosing to take out Kim Jong Un's nuclear arsenal. Probably many of North Korea's conventional offensive capabilities will be targeted as well. To mitigate the risk of retaliation against South Korea's capital, Seoul, and other population centers, Kim and his advisors surely are aware of this scenario and are hardly likely to allow it to unfold. Instead, if the pressure on North Korea continues to ratchet up, Kim will probably seize the initiative by mounting a ground offensive with his million-man army before a U.S.-led air campaign decimates it. It says he could order just a limited advance of his troops seizing territory and surrounding Seoul rather than fighting for the city streets by street. Same would go for the small American military contingent in South Korea, currently about 30,000 troops, which would be contained rather than directly confronted at this point. Kim would call for a negotiation ceasefire as well as the end of sanctions and other efforts to get him to give up his nuclear weapons. So that's just scenarios they're talking about. It says as to those North Korean nukes, they would be held in reserve. So I mean that's pretty much the point. I mean it's just it's just going over different scenarios. Oh yeah. All right, yeah. I read this before. It was a point that was made that I thought was kind of. All right, let me just read this and then I'll. So it says Kim would make it abundantly clear that the continuation of the war would result in escalation that would include irradiating Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea. It says he might even hint at having an atomic weapon secretly away in a shipping container sitting in the port of Oakland or some other American harbor. He does not need to be able to put a nuclear warhead on a long-range missile. A merchant vessel would do just fine as a covert delivery system. Because they don't not even. I mean, there's many ways. What I'm saying that you can use, or they could actually shoot off thermonuclear missiles. You got the silos, the missile silos. Um, you have the mobile. I'm trying to think, what would you call them? I guess you could say like rocket launchers or something like that. And then you have you had like ships, like Navy type ships that could shoot thermonuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles, and then you got like the submarines actually can have nuclear missiles in them. So I mean, there's all kind of ways, and then just like it was saying here, they could have them somewhere in a shipping center or something like ready to detonate them or something. Um, yeah, man, that's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much the point with this. All right, yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah, I mean, basically, this article is talking about how they're talking about all these different scenarios of how they can stop Kim Jong Un. All right, this is Breitbart.com. right, so it says study tens of millions could die in nuclear war with North Korea. Millions of South Korea Millions in South Korea could die if war breaks out on the Korean Peninsula, including hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops and American civilians who live there, according to a recent study. So it's going back to how you had 30,000 Slovakia. Estimated range between 30,000 and 300,000 dead in the first day of fighting, or even the first few hours. If the war escalates to a nuclear level, the toll could be tens of millions of casualties. A conflict itself, should it occur, would likely be significantly more complex and dangerous than any of the interventions the United States has undertaken since the end of the Cold War, including those in Iraq, Libya, and the Balkans, said the report published in November. So it says Pyongyang has sped up its efforts within the last year, successfully testing an intercontinental ballistic missile that could hit the United States in July, but not yet demonstrating whether it can marry the missile with a miniaturized nuclear warhead that can survive re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. It says some estimates say Pyongyang could achieve that goal sometime in 2018. It says one preventive measure outlined in the report would be to shoot down North Korea's medium and long-range test missiles, which allow them to gain valuable information towards achieving its goal. Which, I mean, that'd be kind of stupid. That's like, that'd be, the U.S. would really be shooting themselves in the foot. However, that could risk failure to shoot down a missile and undermine the U.S. deterrent capability. It could also risk a military response from Korea that could spiral into conflict. Another preventive measure would be to take out North Korea's ICBM facilities and launch pads through airstrikes, cruiser missiles attacks, and special operations direct action missions on the ground. However, that option also risks not taking out all such facilities and motivating North Korea to move more aggressively. The U.S. military could also seek to take out North Korea's nuclear facilities, reactor complexes, uranium mines and enrichment facilities, plutonium extraction facilities, research and development facilities, and explosive testing facilities using airstrikes, cruiser missiles, and ground attacks. However, skeptics argue this would only set North Korea back several years at best, could result in widespread contamination, and prompt North Korea to launch a conventional military attack against South Korea and U.S. military and civilian targets. It says another potential option is to seek North Korea regime change, which the Trump administration has said it has no interest in. This would involve strikes against nuclear infrastructure, command and control facilities, key leaders, artillery and missile units, chemical and biological weapons facilities, airports, ports, and other infrastructure deemed critical to regime survival. All right. Well, yeah, you see what it says. All right. Let me go to my last article. This is I think this article was from yesterday or something, or maybe before then. So it's saying about how the Chinese military rushed to the border of North Korea. Chinese military rushed to the North Korea rushed to the North Korea border in preparation for war. Um, all right, so it says a Chinese province along the border with North Korea is seeing an influx of Chinese tanks, soldiers, and military trucks. According to the same report, People's Liberation Army forces have been building up military assets in the cover of night around the Tumen River in Yangjai City, Jilin Province, which borders North Korea. This is right there, as you can see. Um, all right. One source told Delhi NK there were so many soldiers in the car that there was a lot of traffic. I have not seen so many soldiers trucking to Yangjai so far. We had some pictures of military convoy vehicles. Uh, So it says Chinese authorities have reportedly told local residents near the northern Korean border Trump to hit North Korea in the new year. We are preparing for war on the peninsula. And according to the Daily Star, Chinese military officials have recently conducted a so-called war ceremony, urging their troops to be ready to fight. So that just shows you that they're not playing. Um, while these people in America was, celebrating their, getting their Christmas and the New Year's ready and partying and all this stuff, they're getting ready for war. If the media report is accurate, it would suggest that China, fearing the worst, is preparing for war in the Korean Peninsula. Previously, internal documents leaked from China's main state-owned telecommunication company shows 3 villages and cities in the northeastern border province of Jilin have been designated for refugee camps. If war breaks out, China is afraid a swarm of refugees from North Korea could cross the Tumen River into China. A professor of international strategic research at the Communist Party Central Party School said it is highly possible that there is a conflict between North Korea and the United States now. What China does here is to be prepared for any kind of situation happening on the Korean Peninsula. While China prepares for war on the Korean Peninsula by moving military assets to border cities along the Tumen River, there is another threat breaking Tuesday morning. North Korea is preparing to test the largest ICBM missile to date. All right, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So the thing is, we're living in the times of, wars and rumors of war. So that's basically some up-to-date information, pertaining to that prophecy. So, with that, hope this is edifying, and shalom.